You know what it is. That's right. It's time to talk money with your money nerd and financial coach. Now, tighten those purse strings and open those ears. It's the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Money Talk with Tiff podcast. Now, if you're new here, please feel free to like and subscribe so that way you'll never miss an episode. If you're a regular, you're probably wondering, Tiffany, where is your podcast guest? That is a very good question. Now, if you have been listening to the podcast, you know that I typically do podcast guests where I'm asking other people questions about money, business, life, all of those different things. What I've decided is that every 10th episode will be Q&A for my audience to chime in. So what does that mean? You can submit your question and then Tiffany, me, I will answer it on the podcast for you. Now, if you're interested in submitting your question, all you have to do is go to moneytalkwitht.com/Ask Tiffany. And if you didn't get that, I will have that link in the show notes. So to get us started today, our first question comes from a small business owner. Her question was, Tiffany, what should I use to take payment from my clients? What's the best solution? Now, that is a completely loaded question because there are so many different solutions out there. I think the key thing that I want to go over for the purposes of this episode are the things that you should be looking for when you are evaluating all of this different software. So the first thing you want to look at is reliability. How is this software connecting? Is it connecting via internet? Is it connecting via phone line? Because there's multiple solutions, right? Now, if it is connecting via internet, you have to make sure you have internet. Otherwise, you cannot take payment. Now, when I used to work at a thrift store, we used an internet-based provider, which worked 95% of the time. But in those 5% of the time, when the internet maybe was down for whatever reason, we had to manually process credit card payments. And what does that mean? We had the big dinosaur, we called it the dinosaur, and we had to put the card on and do one of those numbers just to get the person's card information. And then we had to manually type it in after the system came back on. Now, you want to make sure that whatever solution you use is reliable. So you want to make sure that you have the proper internet connection or you have the proper phone line connection, and you also have a way to take payment if both of those things are down. The next is affordability. Now, this is key because with every solution, of course, there's a cost. There's two different costs that you should look out for. One is a monthly subscription cost. There are solutions out there like Shopify or that have monthly costs on top of how much they charge you per transaction. So you want to look at the monthly subscription cost if there's one, and you also want to make sure that you look at the per transaction cost. So typically how the transaction costs work is they'll do a set amount, maybe it's 10, 20 cents, and then plus a percentage on every transaction. So you want to make sure that you are using the best system at the best price for your purposes. Like I said, there are so many different small businesses out there that would depend on how your structure and what you sell is set up. Then you want to look at flexibility too. So kind of going back to my first point, if the internet is down, are you able to pull up your phone or an iPad as a backup and use that instead of the hardware? You want to make sure that you have flexibility in whatever solution you decide to get. There are a lot of solutions that have apps for your phone and for your iPads. And there's also other solutions that provide physical hardware that they provide to you that you can use as well. So you want to make sure that you have as many options as possible at the most cost-efficient price. Next, training. Is this a software that's easy to use, or is it going to take some time to get to know it and make sure that you're using it to the best of your abilities? With so much out there, you can literally find something that works specifically for you. If you're very tech savvy, maybe you can go with a more robust option. If you're not as tech savvy or you don't have the time to take to learn the system, there are so many easy options out there. So definitely do your homework. And even one thing that I do is I'll go to their knowledge base. I'll go to their support section and see like what all the features are and if it's easy to understand or if their user interface is easy to understand. All of those things are important because what you don't want is to be in the middle of a sale and you can't figure out what's going on. You want to make sure whatever solution you use, you know it like the back of your hand. You also want to think about speed and mobility. Are you able to use it on the go? Let's say, for instance, you're a small business owner and you do a lot of vending or pop-up shops. You want to make sure you have a solution that's not bulky, where you have to take a whole piece of hardware with you, and you want to just take your phone. Is it mobile? Is it fast? How long does it take for you to process a payment? You don't want to be in a situation where the customer is staring at you and you all are doing one of these numbers while you're waiting for the payment to go through. That is not a good look. So you want to make sure that whatever solution you use is fast and it has mobility. Also, very, very, very important is security. Okay. Everybody wants to make sure that their credit card information is secure. Luckily, most solutions out there on the market right now are very secure. So that's not too much of a concern as a small business owner, because usually if you get one of the bigger brands, you're definitely going to have some protection there. So those are just some overall view of things that you want to look for. Now, to kind of drill in a little bit on the per transaction cost, a lot of solutions will have different transaction costs depending on how you're putting the card information in. So a lot of times you'll find that swiping the card is less expensive than manually putting in that information. Now, there is a method to the madness, because you might be like, well, a card is a card, right? Yeah, but depending on how it's put in, the credit card company is looking at, okay, what are the possibilities of fraud? So if you're not sitting there swiping the card, then the card may not be in hand, right? If the card's not in hand, then it has a higher risk of being fraud. So that's why they charge a little bit more if you have to manually put in card payments. So definitely look at what your per transaction cost is for both swipe and manual. You want to make sure that it's affordable. Also, I just wanted to give you all some quick POS systems that, you know, I have used in the past or that may be good for your company. Now, we have the one and only Square. Now, everybody has heard of Square. Square has a POS app, which is what I have used when I was out, vending and things like that. I would pull up my Square app and I would have the little hardware device. It's like a little scanner that people can swipe their card. And that was how I was taking payments at one point. Now, I love Square. I love all of their functionality. I'm not going to go into too much depth, but it is a easy, low cost option for maybe small business owners that are just starting out. Square used to, they might still give away their little card reader that comes in the mail. But if you have like one of the newer iPhones or you don't have an headphone port, then you would have to get the adapter and so on and so forth. So just make sure you keep that in mind. But I love Square. Square was very helpful for me when I was first getting started. Then there are also other POS systems based on what type of business you have. So for restaurants, there's one called Toast that I've heard about. Now, Toast, I haven't used it personally because I don't have a restaurant, but I wanted to bring it up because I've heard a few restaurant owners I know use Toast. Now, another one is SHOPKEEP. Now, SHOPKEEP is more for retail businesses that actually have a brick and mortar store. When I was working at the thrift store, SHOPKEEP was what we used. I really liked the ease of use. It was very, very efficient. You can put in, different things. Like let's say, for instance, you sell a certain thing all the time. You can put an actual button for that one thing. So you could just tap and, go from the process from there. You can put in discounts, all types of stuff. So I really, really enjoyed SHOPKEEP, and I do have experience using that one. So if you have a retail business that is brick and mortar, SHOPKEEP is a good option. They also do provide the hardware for you if you would like. So like I said, do your research. This is just giving you some ideas. Then we also have Shopify. Now Shopify, I've used Shopify for in-person and online, but it's primarily for online e-retail type businesses. What I like about Shopify is you can have all your inventory up there. You can have a website, and when you're in person, you can actually take it on the go. So for instance, with our tie-dye business, fly-dye clothing company, we would have all of our stuff on the website so people can order on the website. But when we went to go vend, we had a Shopify app, and we could actually update our inventory in real time. So that way you won't run into an issue where you sell something in person and then somebody's online trying to buy that same item. It immediately took that item down. Also with Shopify, you can take card payments on the go. And there's a bunch of different features. You can put discounts in, all types of things. So definitely check that out. So those are just a few of the POS options that are out there. I know PayPal also has an option, so you can check that one out. I haven't really used it too much. I usually use PayPal for my invoicing, but they do have an option out there for POS. And also, one other mention, a lot of banks actually have POS options as well. And POS means point of sale. Sorry, I didn't break that down. But a lot of banks have options for POS systems as well. So you can also check with your local bank and whoever you bank with. So hopefully that answered your question. And unfortunately, I didn't have which one would be the best thing for your business because there are so many different ones that it would depend on what you're looking for and what your needs are. But hopefully that gave you a broad overview of what you would look for when it comes to things like that. So thank you so much for your question. Like I said, if you have any other questions for me, definitely check out my Q&A section on the website, moneytalkwitht.com/Ask Tiffany. And I might as well mention, if you like the shirt that I have on, and if you're just listening to audio, it says, I enjoy romantic walks to the bank, because I do, then that's on the website as well. So definitely check out the swag. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and send me your questions. Bye.
Thank you for listening, joining, and being a part of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast this week. You can check Tiff out every Thursday for a new Money Talk podcast. But if you just can't wait until next week, you can listen to previous podcast episodes at moneytalkwitht.com or follow Tiff on all social media platforms at Money Talk with T. Until next time, spend wise by spending less than you make. A word to the money wise is always sufficient.